do you turn it on? Hello, I'm Steve Colburn, and it's certainly an honor to be here today and to address this group. And my background is in material science, and I've been working with Roger, Dr. Lear, for about 3 years now. And it's been an incredible experience. I think I've seen more strange and unusual things in the last 3 years than most people see in 3 lifetimes working on this research. And I've analyzed several of Dr. Lear's removed objects, and they turn out to be extremely unusual. They contain materials that appear to be from other worlds, not from this solar system, certainly not from the Earth. One of them had traces of elements indicating that it was meteoric iron, which would be a cheap building material for a spacefaring society to use. These objects also contain carbon nanotubes, which I happen to be working on in my research at this point. These carbon nanotubes are tiny cylinders of carbon, which have extremely promising strength-to-weight ratio and electrical and electronic properties. And we are now in the infancy in the field of using these in earthly science. But the aliens seem to have perfected this technology, and it's probably old technology to them, and they're using it in the implants and probably in their craft as well. We'll go on to some of the data. We found out that these implants are coming from very far away, as you'll see by some of the data that we have accumulated. Surgery number 15, I've done the most analysis on the last 2 objects that were removed, surgeries number 15 and 16. Roger talked a little bit about surgery number 16 previously. Surgery number 15, the patient did not want to be identified, so we'll call him John Smith. He's a father of 3, 47 years old, and is also a physical scientist. And the object was in Mr. Smith's second toe. These objects are found all over different areas of the body, the wrist, the toe, thigh. I know of one person with an implant in his chest wall, but that's a little bit unusual. They're usually in the extremities. And in this case, it was in the toe. And like Roger mentioned, it was right near a bone, which that may be an important thing. They may be using the skeleton as an antenna, but we're not sure at this point. This object was visible on X-ray and was giving off radio frequencies. Most of these objects do give off radio frequencies, and they tend to be highly magnetic. The field was greater than 10 milligauss in this case, and that's about 1/10 of the Earth's magnetic field, and it's greater than a lot of electronic equipment give off, so it's pretty significant. And there was no scar visualized on the toe. The man told me that the wound healed unnaturally fast. Within 12 hours, the wound was completely gone. It gave rise to a strange pain, a burning pain, as if nerve cells were growing into the device. I found that quite significant because there are connections between the nervous system and these devices, which probably enables the device to sense what is going on in the patient's body and beam it out to the aliens by radio. These devices seem to be tracking and monitoring devices similar to what we would use to track animals on our planet. The device was removed from Mr. Smith on September 6, 2008, and we filmed it with stills and video, same as with surgery number 16 that Roger showed a little bit of footage of previously. And the procedure was pretty much the same, but instead of the object coming out in multiple small in one piece, it came out in multiple small fragments because it was brittle, because it had inclusions of what turned out to be carbon nanotubes that were big enough to act as stress concentrations and make the object brittle. And that was kind of a good thing because it enabled us to see the interior of this device, which we had not seen before. That enabled us to confirm the presence of the carbon nanotubes. Here's a few slides of the home was a single-story dwelling. There's a few slides coming up of pictures of it. I'll gloss over those because I think we're running short on time. But one very interesting thing we found in Mr. Smith's house, and by the way, we're doing an ongoing investigation of physical evidence other than implants found at abductees' houses. And one of these pieces of evidence are magnetic anomalies that involve strong magnetic fields on objects that do not normally magnetize. This person's house had an avocado tree in his backyard that was quite heavily magnetized, greater than 10 milligauss, maybe as much as 15 milligauss on some areas. The hull of his boat was magnetized. In one strange incident, the backyard soil spontaneously combusted. There was not nearly enough organic material in the soil to account for this. It appeared that energy of some sort had been stored in the soil, and it was a very strange phenomenon, and one that actually had occurred in other places in the person's neighborhood. And this, I believe my colleagues can confirm that that same spontaneous combustion phenomenon has been occurring in Italy over the last few years and has been investigated by the Italian government. Here's some shots of Mr. Smith's home. There was the boat that was magnetized, the avocado tree. And Dr. Lear said that he would not eat avocados off that tree, but Mr. Smith assures me that they're quite good and healthful. Here's a drawing of the interior of the home in which magnetic anomalies were found. The hinges on the doors and some of the cabinets and plastic and stainless steel utensils were magnetized. It was very, very strange. Many materials that do not normally magnetize were magnetized, plus we found magnetic fields that were stronger on one pole than another. Normally magnets have one pole, poles equally strong, but this almost appeared to be a partial magnetic monopole, which science says is an impossibility. If we could obtain this technology, this could be very useful. One of the things that the reason government is covering up the subject of UFOs is because their technology is useful for many things and would free the people of this earth from enslavement to expensive energy and many other things that the system exploits us upon. So I've covered this, and one very, very interesting thing we found in the course of investigating Mr. Smith's bedroom with an ultraviolet light is that apparently these aliens have a substance on their skin which glows yellow-green when illuminated under UV light, light that we can't see, similar to the light that causes sunburns. And we found two good four-fingered handprints on the wall near where he sleeps in his bedroom. And I hope you can see this photograph clearly, but here it is blown up somewhat. And this is one of the biggest pieces of evidence we'd found up to that time, other than the implants themselves. Here's the x-ray of Mr. Smith's toe that shows, I don't know if you can see this clearly, but there's a blow up there that you might be able to see the implant. It was not very x-ray dense. Dr. Lear commented it was at about the same x-ray density as human bone. And it looked like a bent piece of wire on the x-ray. It looked a lot smaller on the x-ray than it actually was when it was taken out of his body. And one very interesting thing was that the particles that this object broke up into reassembled into the same original order when they were in this blood serum that Dr. Lear talked about being used for storage. And As in the rest of the objects, the pathology report indicated the presence of proprioceptor nerve bundles connecting to the device and no immune response to the object by the patient. On the metal, I performed optical and scanning electron microscopy imaging, energy dispersive X-ray elemental analysis, and a more sensitive technique called ICP for trace element analysis for elements that are present in such low concentrations they cannot be detected by EDX. And I did Raman spectroscopy on the object to try to detect the presence of carbon nanotubes because we saw fibers on the SEM shots that it looked like they might be. So here's some of the optical shots of a piece of the object. It's kind of at a rusted surface, and it turned out that the matrix was meteoric iron. And it looks very similar to the optical microscopy of a piece of a nickel iron meteorite, which this is in this shot. Here's some of the fibers we saw in the SEM scanning electron microscopy images. They looked very similar to commercial carbon nanotube bundles. Here's a comparison between some of the fibers found in the implant and commercial carbon nanotube bundles. And we found some very strange structures, nanostructures in this object. One that looked like a horn, or looked like it could have been used as some sort of antenna. Some sodium chloride crystals that were of a strange shape that might have had some function, maybe some radio frequency generating function. Strange irregular pits, and other structures as well, nanoribbons and strange pits in the metal that looked almost like capillaries. Small blood vessels had been passing into the metal, nanocells. Here's the Raman data, and it indicates that there were some carbon nanotubes in there. The large peak is commercial carbon nanotubes, and the object had peaks at very similar locations to the shot on the right is the D and G bands that are characteristic of single wall carbon nanotubes, and on the left are radial breathing mode bands that in any event, I hope this isn't too technical for anybody, but they matched up well enough where we were able to determine that these objects do contain carbon nanotubes, and those inclusions that cause the object to break up are made of carbon nanotubes. That's most likely the electronics of the device. These people have electronics so advanced that a supercomputer could probably fit into an object this size. We analyzed the ICP-MS data, and it indicated that the metal matrix was meteoric iron, the gallium and germanium was kind of a smoking gun, and iridium, which is common in space but rare on Earth, and about 5.2% nickel and other metals that are common in meteorites. And it was beyond question that it was meteoric iron. And the isotopic ratios were unearthly, and every element on Earth has its own pattern of different isotopes with different mass nuclei with different masses, different numbers of neutrons in the nucleus. This pattern is like a fingerprint of all elements found on Earth. If the ratios are different than this by more than a fraction of a percent, then it did not come from this planet. And several elements in the sample that we were able to analyze for isotopic ratios had extremely skewed isotopic ratios, so much so that they probably came from a different solar system rather than our own solar system. And here's some of the conclusions. The iron was meteoric in origin, and there were strange sodium chloride crystals, carbon nanostructures, and unknown structures and networks. And there was a strange shiny coating that you can see back here, and Roger showed you that on the other implant as well. On shot A, you can see that shiny coating that was similar to a biological hard part or a bone, and might be partly responsible for the lack of rejection of the object. It was like a ceramic, like a biological ceramic, like mother of pearl out of an abalone shell. It was very similar to. And this material is probably not from our solar system, as I mentioned. And surgery number 16, I'll have to go over that quickly, but Roger went over a little bit of it already. The patient was named Ron Noel. He didn't have a problem with his name being used. He's from Tennessee, was married, and the object was in his wrist in this case. And we verified that it was in there by X-ray as before. The procedure was the same. It had a magnetic field, and it was also emitting radio frequencies. All right. Well, I'm being told my time is up, but in any event, the strangest thing about this object is it also had carbon nanotubes and appeared to be some sort of advanced carbon nanotube metal matrix composite. Here's a shot of the object with the tissue around it and removed from the tissue. And here's more optical shots, some SEM and carbon nanotube bundle there that appear to be main connection to the device. And some pits in the interior. And the strangest thing about it was that it was almost indestructible. The machine shop couldn't cut it when we tried to cut it in half to see the interior. Diamond tools would not cut it. That's unheard of. Somebody with a high degree of technological sophistication made this object. There's no doubt in my mind.
He's tall and I'm short. To sum up, again, I think the important thing here is that we're actually seeing these tiny objects that tell us that they are extraterrestrial in nature, which essentially means they don't come from here. Not if you look even at our secret science, which we call black budget science, which I understand now they spent or wasted $93 trillion of taxpayer money. Most of it has gone to weapons and advanced science. But even the black budget boys can't go this far and do the things that we find in these objects. So to sum up, I want to say that actually the objects that we found, we had two nuclear physicists that are on our science board, and one of them came up with a formula, and without going through all the mathematics, which I'm probably not qualified to do anyway, I'm going to tell you that he says these materials come from not less than 300 million miles from this planet, which is 1/3 of the way across the Milky Way galaxy. And that the civilization that's doing this is most probably not less than 80 million years more advanced than we are. So here are UFOs. Here are the wheels that you've been talking about. This is exactly what Reverend Minister Farrakhan has been talking about, which you've all been talking about. This is proof that the people of this planet are being visited and probably have for thousands of years from like intelligences like us. They may even be us from many other places in the universe. Thank you so very much.
Now we will continue with the exopolitics, what is happening behind doors at the UN, in the Vatican, and in many other instances. I think this is very important, what we are going to hear now. Fernando Correa, astronomer.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for the Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you, Mother Taineta. You're here. Thank you for everybody. Allah salam alaika. For me, it's a great honor to be here with you together to speak for questions that living in my mind since I was a child. At 5 years old, I climbed to my roof in my home and watching the skies and saw in the TV the extraterrestrials, spacecraft, and at this time I don't know exactly what is science and what is the fiction, and I thinking that the same thing I asked to the stars, when I can meet with an extraterrestrial. Later, in 1983, studying in the Astronomical Society, I asked to my teachers, the great Mexican astronomers, exist the UFOs? Exist the aliens, the extraterrestrials, another life in the universe? Oh, wow, wow, shut up, shut up. When some government, when someday an Air Force speak openly about all that, maybe we research something. But the days come. In 1998, in France, the military Air Force exposed the report Comet. In this report, not only accept the existence of the U.F.O phenomenon, so claim to the government, to the president of France, to do something about, because this exists, and we must have a change. We must take part of this change. The world is changing very, very soon. In February of 2008, in the United Nations, had a secret meetings, where participated the representation of 20 countries, in secret, with closed doors. But the information flows, and the pilot, Gilles Laurent, which participate in these secret meetings, expose that meetings and the objectives. Also participate, for example, Celestino Migliore, the permanent viewer in the Vatican from the United Nations. Months later, the first state to accept and speak openly about this was the Vatican. The father, Jose Gabriel Funes, like my friend and great researcher Gebert tell us, the father Gabriel Funes say, sometimes some people ask me, what happened with the church if exists another beings? Well, like San Francisco Assisi says, Brother Wolf, Brother Moon, Brother's Sun, why not tell us brother extraterrestrial also was created by God? And then the world changed fast. Later, as the scientists in the Royal Society, in the magazine Philosophical Transactions, were right Galileo Galilei, Newton, recently Stephen Hawking, Dominique and Sarnecki, these two scientists, climbed to the United Nations to form a special committee for research these themes and name a special ambassador to media, to the meeting with the extraterrestrials. Then I will invite you to see some Mexican TV. Two reports that was presented in the Mexican TV, in the show at Jaime Maussan, Third Millennium TV show, and then watch carefully.
The Royal Society in England requested that the UN form a special office to prepare for contact with intelligent beings in the universe. A group of scientists in the Royal Society warned that the world's governments should also be prepared for a possible contact with extraterrestrial beings. In January 2011, in the magazine Philosophical Transactions, British researchers pointed out that humanity